Well, that's Backlash. And I have some things to say and some issues with a couple of things. But let's start things off from the beginning. First things first, they on the pre-show they said that they had now moved the United States Championship match between Apollo Crews and Andrade to the pre-show and put a Raw Tag Team title match between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders onto the main card. So we got Apollo Crews vs Andrade on the pre-show. It was good. It was a good match. Ultimately, Apollo Crews ended up winning with the spin out powerbomb, and he's still your champion. One thing that I don't like though is Apollo Crews has new theme music, and it's very dull and generic. I really liked his original theme song, so I don't get the point of changing it. I'm not a fan of that. But whatever, that's the way it is, I suppose. Maybe it will grow on me, but at the moment I'm not a huge fan. Next, we open the show proper. The first match on the actual card was the Triple Threat Women's Tag Team title match with proper rules this time. Yes, for once, WWE actually decided to do the proper way of doing this match, which is one woman from each team is legal at all times. Thank you. That was a huge... that was so much better for me. Anyway, as for the match itself, it was pretty good. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of good tag team action. Ultimately, the match ended with Alexa Bliss hitting a Twisted Bliss onto... Was it Billy Kay or Peyton? I don't remember exactly who it was. But anyway, it doesn't matter because Sasha got in as soon as she hit the move. Rolled up Bliss for the surprise. Rolled out the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling. And it was because, well, Sasha got the pinfall. And Bayley and Sasha retained their tag team titles. And surprisingly enough, during this match, there was no miscommunication. No split between Bayley and Sasha. It was a pretty standard match. Speaking of standard, next up we had Sheamus versus Jeff Hardy. And this match surprised me a lot with the finish. The match was a lot of back and forth here and there. They pulled a lot of... It was a pretty standard match, honestly. There was one moment that confused me a little bit where Jeff... climbed up to the top rope and then did a corkscrew moonsault, and the commentator claimed that was a whisper in the wind, when I always thought that was a step up corkscrew. So have they changed it or something? I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, most of the time during this match, Sheamus was in control, even though Jeff got a little control as we went on. And he kept ripping up Jeff's fishnet shirt for some reason. Anyway, at one point Jeff is able to hit the Twist of Fate, goes for the Swanton, hits it, but Sheamus is too close to the rope, so he puts his foot on the rope. Oh, they go to the outside. Jeff jumps off the barricade into a bro kick. Sheamus gets him back in the ring. Second bro kick. 1, 2... Yeah, there, no shenanigans, no cheating. Sheamus beat Jeff clean as a whistle. That is weird to me. That throughout all this, Sheamus has taken so many dirty tactics against Jeff, and Jeff finally gets a chance to fight Sheamus on even ground. And Sheamus just straight up beats him. Like, no bones about it. He won clean. No shenanigans, no nothing. He won clean as a whistle. It'd be interesting to see how they're going to go about the story from here, but that is weird. Speaking of weird, we move on to the Raw Women's Championship match. Asuka versus Nia Jax. Match is pretty back and forth at the beginning. You know, Asuka keeps using her submission holds on Nia while Nia's using power moves. It's a lot of back and forth. Ultimately, they brawl to the outside of the ring, and they brawl for quite a while. They get to the count of 5, and neither of them are trying to get back in the ring. At one point, at the count of 8, I believe, Asuka gets out of a hold from Nia, kicks Nia in the head, and before she can get back in the ring, the ref says 10. Double count out. The fucking Raw Women's Championship match ended in a double fucking count out. Ay. Man, you are just not doing Asuka any favors right now. Not only has she now lost twice to Charlotte, once by countout and once by pinfall, but now she had a match with Nia Jax and she couldn't even win the match. Both of them lost the match by countout. You have to excuse the seagulls in the background if you heard them. I don't live by the ocean, but for some reason there are sometimes some seagulls flying by here. I don't know why, and it's somewhat. I think it's 4 in the morning right now where I am. So I just want to get this video done, and then I'll probably go to sleep. Anyway. The match itself was fine, but the finish was not a good thing. Then we had Braun Strowman versus The Miz and John Morrison. One important thing to note about this match was that on the pre-show they mentioned that the rules of this match have been changed. So now, instead of Miz and Morrison fighting to become co-champions, they added the stipulation that if The Miz and John Morrison, whoever made the pinfall of the two, would become the champion. This is important. Anyway, the match itself. One interesting thing I noted about this match was when John Morrison was in the match, he was mostly in control. Like he was keeping Braun on his toe, for most of the match. Like, yeah, sure, he wasn't, like, totally in control, but he did pretty well in offense-wise. Much compared to The Miz, who, whenever he was in the ring, basically just did a running tactic all the time. And most of the time when he was in control, it was because him and Morrison had used tag team offense to knock down Braun earlier. But anyway, then we get to the finish of the match. Towards the end, there's a point where The Miz has gotten a little bit of control. He gets Braun into the skull-crushing finale position, tags Morrison. Morrison does a springboard knee onto Braun's neck as Miz is hitting him with the skull-crushing finale. John Morrison goes for the pinfall. Braun is down. 1, 2. Miz pulls him off. Then Miz looks horrified. John Morrison is completely is like, what? Why? And then Miz pushes him onto Braun, but now it's been too long for Braun to actually be counted down. Braun kicks out. Braun knocks down the Miz, knocks down Morrison. Morrison picks up Morrison. Power slam. 1, 2, 3. Braun Strowman retains. So, seeds planted for possibly breaking up the Miz and John Morrison here. Honestly, I'm not against it because I would rather see John Morrison as a single star going forward. But again, it looked like the Miz was more of the cowardly weakling of this team, while Morrison was completely in control. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they're going from there. Anyway, then we move on to Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Before the match even starts, Bobby Lashley rushes up on Drew McIntyre and locks him in that full Nelson maneuver he started doing. And he holds it in, and the match hasn't started yet, But Drew fades and is knocked down. The referees are pulling him off of him because, again, the match hasn't started yet. They ask if Drew will continue. He says yes. The bell rings and the match officially starts, and Bobby's all over him, beating him down, hitting him with all sorts of moves. But one thing that's to know is that every time he goes for a pinfall, Drew kicks out of 1. Not 2, 1. He kicks out of 1 on everything. Drew eventually gets back some offense. There's a really cool there's a couple of cool moments in this match where Bobby Lashley goes for a somewhat of a crossface. Drew counters it, is able to pull him into sort of a tombstone situation, but before he can hit it, Bobby gets out of it, locks him in an ankle lock. But then Drew is able to counter that into a Kimura lock. I've never seen Drew do a Kimura lock before. Bobby gets the ropes. Drew knocks down. Drew goes in the corner. Does the 1, 2, 3 to get the Claymore. Bobby hits him with a spear and finally gets a 2 count. But it's still not enough. Then Lana comes out. She yells at. She walks past the MVP, yells at the referee for some reason. Drew knocks Bobby towards Lana, hits him with the Glasgow Kiss, which knocks down Lana onto MVP. Bobby Lashley is horrified by this. Turns around, Claymore, 1, 2. Once again, Lana has cost Bobby Lashley a match. Can we please just hurry this along and get the divorce already? Get Lana away from Bobby Lashley and we can focus on something else with Bobby. Hopefully, I would like a match between him and Brock Lesnar this time. Everyone's been asking for it. Can we please just get it already? So yeah, Drew wins. He's looking pretty damn strong since he keeps kicking out of 1 at everything, except for the spear. So yeah, good one for Drew, and Bobby looked pretty decent in this match too. A lot of good back and forth. This was pretty good. Anyway, then we move on to we were supposed to get the tag match I mentioned earlier. However, for some reason, then they decided. It seems like they just had a thought. You know what we don't have on this card? A cinematic match. So we cut back to backstage where the Viking Raiders and Street Profits are now brawling all over the place. There's some callbacks to all the weird challenges they've been doing against each other with the bowling and the golf and Hansen. I know he has a different name now, but I refuse to use that. I'm just going to call him Hansen. Has this chicken leg that he brings along all over the place. As they brawl over the place, there's a point where Hansen throws a bowling ball into the crotch of Montez Ford. There's a point where Angelo Dawkins spears Hansen through a glass window. And throughout this match, there are points where Hansen just gets these flashbacks to those previous matches they've been doing, like just seeing stuff about the stuff they've been doing and the chicken leg and all the women who thought he was cute and Rowe not so much. Then we get to the dumbest part of this whole thing. They get to the parking lot. And then all of a sudden, this huge row of motorcycles rolls up. The leader of the bunch takes off his helmet, and it's Akira Tozawa. And then the other people take off their helmets, and there are a bunch of ninjas. These ninjas then go ahead. Then the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders team up to fight off the ninjas. They knock down all the ninjas. During this fight, Hansen's turkey leg gets knocked into, or chicken leg, I'm not sure which bird it is, gets knocked into the bushes. Then as they've knocked down all the ninjas, Tozawa calls over a big ninja with a sword. And then for some fucking reason, all of a sudden Hansen has the force. Like, he reaches his hand out, and the chicken leg that's laying in the bushes just flies into his hand, so he fucking has the force. But when they see that the big ninja has an actual sword, he drops the leg and they run off and climb aboard on top of a production truck. They start fighting up top of there. Then they all get knocked into a trash, some sort of trash truck or something. I don't know. Like they landed a big container with a bunch of trash bags. Then suddenly they show that an alligator or a crocodile, not entirely sure which one, is in the trash. They try to run away, and we're done with that segment. So yeah, the tag team title match was cancelled for that weird bullshit. Why? What was the point of doing that bullshit on a fucking pay-per-view? You couldn't have done that bullshit on the pre-show and had Andrade vs. Apollo on the show itself. Ay. Speaking of bullshit, then we move on to the greatest wrestling match ever, Randy Orton vs. Edge, which of course was the main event because they built the whole fucking pay-per-view around it. I have a lot of issues with this match. But surprisingly, none of it has to do with the actual in-ring match between Orton and Edge. The actual in-ring match was actually pretty good. Not the greatest wrestling match I've ever seen. I can name about 6 others that I think are better. No, actually, more than that. I can think of a lot more that are better. I just, I was thinking 6 because I was thinking for some reason of a bunch, because that was the number of examples I could think of at the top of my head, but I could probably name more. That's a lot better. But this was good. There's just one major problem I have with this fucking match. The production. Now, this wasn't a cinematic match per se, but they added a lot of bullshit to this. First of all, when the match started, they had this weird microphone come down from the ceiling, and there is stock audio from Howard Finkel introducing Edge and Randy Orton. May I remind you, only a month, is it a month or a few weeks ago, Howard Finkel passed away. So that seems a bit disrespectful. I assume they got permission from from his family, but that seems a bit disrespectful to just have him piped in here for no good reason. And then there's the production, and then the match itself starts, and we get a lot of weird camera angles, like from a view from the ring up. For example, when they lock up. There's a camera in the turnbuckle. There's a camera on the ceiling that they keep cutting to. And the thing that annoyed me more than anything. Now, I understand that the crowd that they have is NXT trainees. Or NXT superstars in some cases. Because I saw quite a few faces that normally appear on NXT TV. They are hired to be the crowd. They are not actual crowd, so they're probably told what to chant. They're told what to. So the forced chanting and the forced applause and all that's to be expected. What I am not fine with is stock footage. It's stock pipings like "This is awesome" chants or arena applause or "Fight forever" sort of stuff. Recorded footage being played over the speakers. It's annoying and it feels forced, and they're trying to make this match seem bigger than it actually is. Now again, I'm not saying this match was bad. Like, it started off a bit slow here and there, but that's to be expected. Start off slow and ramp things up as we go. We got some cool moves here and there. There was a weird point where Orton gets knocked on the apron, and then all of a sudden he gets hit by a clothesline from from the apron, and he's bleeding. Okay, that's weird. I wouldn't think you could catch blood from that, but alright. Then there's a couple of things that I found a bit weird. Weird toward when we started ramping things up. Because towards when they started ramping things up, they started pulling out some classic, more classic moves, like Edge hit the execution and the Edge-O-Matic. Randy hit his draping DDT and his backbreaker and stuff like that. But then you have stuff like then you have a weird one where Orton gets Edge in the middle of the ring, looks up in the ceiling, and then starts doing the Three Amigos, like the triple suplexes that Eddie Guerrero used to do. And then when he's about to hit three, Edge stops him, and it's his own Three Amigos, and actually hits this one. Even though I don't really know why. It's not like Randy had that big of a tie to Eddie Guerrero. Oh, and Edge, outside of maybe wrestling him a couple of times during the early days of SmackDown, and he had a whole storyline with Eddie's widow. I really don't know why they decided to have a reference to Eddie Guerrero. But then you start having like Orton hitting the angle slam. He's used that move before, so that's not really a big deal. Edge hitting the kill switch, Unprettier. For some reason they changed the name to Unprettier again. For some reason, even though they've been calling that move the kill switch for quite a while. I like that name. I like kill switch better, by the way. So I'm gonna keep referring to it that way. He hits the kill switch. That's not enough. Then Orton hits a pedigree. That makes sense. It makes sense. It's Triple H's move, so that's a reference to him. Just like Edge hitting the kill switch is a reference to Christian. But then you have stuff like Edge hitting a rock bottom for some reason, and then he attempts to go for a sharpshooter for some reason, even though he already has a finishing maneuver. Already has a submission hold he could have probably used called the Educator, I believe it's called. Anyway, at some point Orton is able to counter into an RKO, but he gets a 2 count. Edge is able to hit, able to turn something into a spear. Then he hits a second spear, but it's not enough. Orton hits a second RKO. After Edge goes for a top rope maneuver. Not enough to win. Then Orton goes for the punt, and for once actually hits it. And it's enough to get the 3 count. Orton won the match with a punt. That's a sentence I haven't seen or heard since 2009, I think. Oh no, wait, 2011 actually, because he started doing I think the last time he did the punt was around the time when he destroyed the new Nexus. I believe that's the last time he used that properly. Like, he's teased it a couple of times, but he's never actually hit it because pretty much that move, I think it's supposed to be banned. But I guess with this match where they could just re-record it all the time, he could probably do it safely and it wouldn't be a problem. So yeah, Orton won. And since when he hit the punt, like, they brought out a stretcher, but Edge refused medical treatment. So either are they actually going to have Edge go away for a while, or are they building towards another match? Because towards the end of the match, we see Orton looking at Edge as he's refusing medical attention. He's just looking really, he's like, damn it, come on. Like he wants to finish this, like he wants to put an end to Edge, like he wanted to at the beginning. So are they going to do another match? Is Edge going away for a while with an injury? What's going on here? I don't know. So yeah, again, from an in-ring perspective, I actually enjoyed this match. Like, it was good. Not the greatest match I've ever seen. Obviously, it was never going to be. But I enjoyed it if it wasn't for the fucking production problems. I hated the production on this shit. And if they just removed all the piped-in crowd noise and those stupid camera angles, I probably would have enjoyed this match a lot more. I could probably say this was the best match on the card. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure about that. But yeah. As for Backlash in and of itself, it was alright. Like, I mean, there are a couple of problems with it. Like, again, all the stuff I talked about there. That cinematic crap that didn't really need to be on the pay-per-view. It had no reason to be there either, and it was really confusing. And the stupid double count-out finish for the women's title match. Yeah. A lot of dumb things, but there was some good stuff here. Wouldn't say it was a bad show. I just think I'm getting really tired of this overproduced bullshit, and I would really like for WWE to just let them have the match and just don't do this overhyped bullshit again, please. If they're gonna have another Edge versus Orton match, just do a regular one. Just don't do any other bullshit like this. Anyway, that's the end of that. That's the end of Backlash. And they announced that they're doing an Extreme Rules pay-per-view in July. But I'm probably not going to do that one because do a prediction or false video for that one, because I actually wanted to take a break from all the pay-per-view stuff. I wanted to do that after WrestleMania, actually. But then the Undertaker documentary started, and I was desperate to see that one. By the way, watch part 4. Watch part 4. 4 if you haven't already. It's really damn good. It's probably going on right now, because they said they were premiering it after Extreme Rules, even though they'd already uploaded it much earlier in the day. So yeah, if you haven't seen the part 4 of The Last Ride documentary, I highly recommend it. It's really good. And they've mentioned that on the 21st of June, which is next Sunday, I think, they're doing the final part, which is covering the AJ Styles match that he had recently, and possibly where Undertaker's going from here. My hopes, a match between him and AJ at Survivor Series. That's my hope. Hope that that's where we're going. Not SummerSlam, because I'm still convinced that we're not having proper fans in there. I know there have been rumors that they're going to, but I'm pretty damn certain that we're not. No, we're not. Also, it'd be really damn irresponsible to do that. This pandemic isn't going away anytime soon. It's not October, so there's no sign of a vaccine yet. So, yeah, please, anyone, if you're not taking this virus seriously, please do. You're putting your own life and everyone else around you in danger when you don't. Anyway, I'm not going to start talking about the pandemic. That's the end of this thoughts video. You're probably not going to see any more wrestling videos from me unless I really need to talk about something, in which I probably won't. So yeah, that's the end of that. But one last thing to leave this off. A direct message to Vince McMahon. I have heard some very troubling rumors, and these might just be rumors, but rumors sometimes have a basis somewhere. Vince, if you have any idea or any thought in your head about ending the brand split, do not fucking think about it even fucking once. It will only cause more fucking problems than it would solve. Do not be fucking stupid.